what does it look like to transfer somebody else's business into your business? So I'm curious, how do you go about that transition part? How do you transition a business into your ownership once it's closed?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, the market is young enough that the vast majority of FBA brands that are out there have never changed hands. They've just, were built from the ground up, whether it be 2012, 13, 14, at the oldest, as recent as a couple of years ago. So a lot of people are navigating this for the first time. Most people that are selling their business here are doing it for the first time. Sometimes the buyer is doing it for the first time. And in general, I think a deal, when you're approaching this transition process, it's super important, right? So you could structure the best terms, you can structure a great deal for both parties, but if you can't effectively transition the asset and the deal never actually gets consummated, then it was all for naught. And so, there is a process in place. It is doable. Lots of people are buying and selling these businesses, but it's a fairly high stakes part of the process that you need to be thoughtful about ahead of time. And in general, I would say, we have try to take a standard and cookie cutter approach to the account migration process, even if the transition process more broadly needs to be more ad hoc, depending on what a seller is willing to sign up for in terms of their transition arrangement. Yes, the question about sort of what does it take to actually migrate the accounts, right? And so I can dive into that a little bit. The key thing is that you go from the day of close, where the seller owns the account, it's their legal entity or their name on the account. They're running the day-to-day operations, and you're not, to someday in the future where the buyer is. And really the way to do that after close is it takes a little bit of time, and the name of the game is communicating with Amazon to make sure that they view this all on the up and up. If you think about it, you're going into an account, changing banking deposit methods, changing legal entities, changing two-factor authentication. And so the biggest mistake someone can make is not communicating with Amazon about what's happening and getting bots that shut the account down. So really the approach is mostly just to communicate to Amazon upfront about what's happening, let them know that this transition is happening. And then once you get approval to do that, you've got to have all your key contact information lined up. And basically you go from there to work hand in hand with the buyer and seller to work hand in hand to load in that new legal entity name, load in your banking information, make sure that you're cut over to have the communication preferences for everything, so that if something goes out of stock, that you're getting that notification. If somebody files a complaint, that you're getting that notification. And so it's really about communicating with Amazon. Once you get approval, making all those changes all at once, and going from there. On the account details, I think the one other big thing that some people will miss if they're not doing it for the first time potentially, or if they're doing it for the first time potentially, is just the sensitivity Amazon has around what data is used. So of course you can't have the same email address that's associated with another seller account. Generally speaking, you shouldn't have the same legal entity. Amazon has communicated some things about maybe being more open to that, but generally speaking, probably cleanest to have a new legal entity and, of course, new and clean banking information as well. But the key watch-outs, I would say, are make sure you over-communicate with Amazon and make sure you're really airtight on the information that you're adding to the account.
Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications about new videos and interviews. And introduce yourself in the comments. Are you a buyer or a seller?